everyone. I'm Robyn Freye, the Chief Growth Officer at Stagwell, and we are live from the CES floor of day 2. And with over 1,000 new exhibitors, we have so much to talk about today. I'm joined by Don McGuire, the CMO of Qualcomm, and Mark Penn, the CEO and Chairman of Stagwell. And I'd love just to start off by talking, maybe, Don, if you can tell me a little bit about the trends that you're seeing at CES.
Sure. Is it really only day 2?
It is only day 2.
It's like day 7.
I know.
No, it's been a great show. It's great to see CES back, which is the energy and the buzz is really cool to see. And, ChatGPT is everywhere, right? If it was a drinking game, we'd be hammered right now. Every time I've heard ChatGPT this week, I've been playing with it. It's giving me some weird responses, but it's kind of fun. I think that's one thing that's everywhere. And this idea, OpenAI, and AI is sort of kind of everywhere, and it's manifesting itself in different ways. And we have our own AI story, so we're kind of right as part of that narrative, right in the middle of that. I think we're also seeing a lot of questions. As a marketer, I'm hearing a lot about 2023 and kind of what a dumpster fire from a macroeconomic perspective it is, and so how are we going to manage through that? And do you invest to grow? Do you pull back? And where do you focus? And how do you apply resources? And then what are the digital transformation tools that are now available through technology that can help marketers, kind of navigate the waters of 2023? And so hearing a lot about that. I don't know if that's really a trend or a concern or a challenge, but that's a lot of buzz around that. Digital transformation in itself, obviously, is another thing we could do shots around and be hammered, and that's taking different forms, right? It's at different layers, but we're going through our own digital transformation, and then we're also driving digital transformation with others. So that's been interesting. Automotive continues to be huge here at the show, and again, we had a lot of auto announcements, and our partners have a lot of announcements around auto. Carl Tavares did the keynote, opening keynote from Stellantis. So CES and its affinity for auto continues. Lots of screens. I checked out the Sphere yesterday. Wow. Yeah. That's going to be an amazing
The Sphere
venue. So those are some of the things that I've seen so far.
And Mark, how about you?
Well, I think here with Stagwell first, we're here with our augmented reality stadium experience. So that experience that we've built really takes fans in the stadium and lets them use their phone and see an enhanced experience. And not only do they see an enhanced experience, but because each fan is in a unique location, they can now interact with all the other fans. So with the LA Rams who are here, we did the largest 65,000 person snowball fight, right, in Los Angeles, right, when there was no snow. Yeah. So I think in general, I'm a big fan of augmented reality. That's why we invested in it. Obviously, you see augmented reality is not as big here as I believe it will be in the next couple of years. I think AI is big, and we have developed a product called Profit, where you put your news release in, and it then tells you who's going to cover it and how favorably they're going to cover it. And then you rewrite your news release, and then you put it back in again. And so you improve how your news release is going to do using AI. And I think obviously we see a lot of deployment of AI. I asked OpenChat, what is it, GPT, if I got that right? GPT. I asked it for detailed blackjack rules while I was here. And I want you to know that its answer was not adequate. I would have lost a lot of money. So I always say about AI, it's about 85% of what you think it is. We don't have driverless cars yet. The simple tasks can be done and figured out by AI, but the really complex tasks and the really truly creative sparks are still human sparks. And I think we sometimes are just overly trusting of computers. They seem so trustworthy. So AI is going to continue to get better. It's going to use a lot of chips, and a lot of
Qualcomm chips, Snapdragon,
and it will take on a lot of tasks. But we have to keep AI honest. I noticed also when I asked OpenChat for the trends here at, it said AI was the #1 trend, telling me that it was biased.
That's right, it is biased. That's right. Self-promotion.
So, I think there's a lot of, outside of some of the marketing stuff, I think that we're seeing, I think the healthcare stuff to me is really most interesting. How, I had a chapter in Microtrends about do-it-yourselfers, You show up to the doctor with your diagnosis, and data geeks, that people are becoming self-data geeks.
Right.
And you really see that being borne out now, both whether the way Apple has constructed the watch, but the way so many of the companies here have constructed the ability for you to learn about yourself in new ways. Now, what you do with all that data, it's very interesting. Medicine is really premised on triaging very simple data.
Yep.
You go to your doctor, he checks your temperature, he gets your heartbeat and blood pressure, and then maybe does a blood test, but he starts very simply. Here, actually, technology is the opposite. It's going to flood you with data and information,
Right.
And you somehow are going to feel better by having that information.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree on AR. I think the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see this nascency become more pervasive. Another trend, another buzz where the narrative has been, it's still the Metaverse is still being discussed in all sorts of different forms and points of view. And I think both panels I said on this week so far, that's come up as a topic, and so we've discussed that. I've never seen an acronym fall into favor and out of favor so fast as NFT.
Yep.
So we'll see where tokenization goes in 2023. That should be super interesting. But this idea of altered states of reality or layered reality is still developing. There's a lot of cool experimentation going on. I think the thing that you did with the Rams and the snowball fight in LA is super cool. And that's great. I love experimentation. You have to iterate to innovate anyway, so I think that's great. We had just recently announced our AR2 platform for glasses. We are going to need to get these small form factors. We are going to need to make it easier and more pervasive and more inclusive by building that foundational technology. If really these experiences are going to scale, outside the smartphone into new ways, and there's a lot of work to be done there.
Yep.
So and we're in whatever that form the Metaverse quote unquote takes. We're in and we're along for the ride. So that's super cool. Digital healthcare becoming self-care. I think you just brought that up. I think that's really interesting. I didn't expect that here.
Yeah.
Typically at the Consumer Electronics Show, but I think it's super interesting, and especially as it can empower people in developing nations, right, like Africa and things like that, because access to good healthcare is still a huge problem. So.
Well, Dan, I think that whatever new experiences there are, you're going to create the chips, and we are going to get the sponsorships that make those experiences affordable to consumers. Because without the advertising model, right, the experiences, even you take our AR experience, or we're building a layer around QR codes now, having the marketing sponsorships and advertising, we hope we'll get you to be one of them, at the stadiums, is really what makes technology so affordable and helps democratize it. And I think people forget that. Between your driving down the cost of chips and us driving out kind of this sponsorship-based model, it's what makes these incredible developments, I think, accessible to hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, I agree. It's part enablement and then part eliminating the barriers to entry and closing those divides. I think that'll be really important for these to really scale. For sure. So.
Wonderful. Well, we are just about out of time. I just have one final question. For 2023, what do you believe is the one area that marketers cannot ignore?
Politics is coming back around. 23-24 is going to be an incredible cycle. On technology, of course, I do think AR, AR is coming back. But look, what marketers can't ignore, the other thing I would say is fragmentation. I think that people thought, okay, there's just two sources of digital advertising. And I think now they realize that experiences between so many different new forms, whether it's TikTok or Netflix advertising, whether the Amazon ads and marketplace, fragmentation, I think, is the key thing a marketer has to look at in terms of where they put their media dollars and their sponsorships in 2023.
Yeah, I would say they can't ignore the absolute necessity of focus.
Yeah.
To your point about there's fragmentation. I have potentially 70,000 different media sources I can use to market my products.
Yep.
Right. I mean, obviously that covers every audience, and I don't market to every audience, but that's pretty broad. And so Focus because of the macroeconomic environment. Focus because in order for you to achieve business objectives, you need focus. I think you can't ignore that. And I think leaning in too far and getting over our skis and things like the metaverse, so the idea of it, tokenization, TikTok, because regulatory speaking, we don't know what's going to happen there. So I think you got to be careful about leaning in too far on platforms and I don't want to say fads, but trending types of tools, because if something changes with that tool, then you can get stuck.
Yes.
So I think this moderation, this balance is going to have to be something that marketers focus on in 2023. And there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of access to new things. You just can't you can't spread yourself too thin, and you have to be careful. You don't lean in a place where you can get yourself in trouble.
And did I say in 2023, marketers should not miss Stagwell?
Not miss Stagwell.
There we go. And obviously Qualcomm is a wonderful partner and client of ours as well. So Don, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to see what's ahead of us in 2023. And I think we should go out and see what's on the floor. Let's go see some robots.
Some cool stuff.